Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now in 2022, after the start of the special military operation, the US, EU and the G7 introduced a wide range of sanctions on Russia, in fact around 20,000 of them. So Russia had to completely reorient its trade away from the West and focus on South, East and Central Asia, plus Africa and Latin America. Now this has led in the past year to significant changes in Russia's foreign trade turnover and the countries involved. The introduction of sanctions and the geopolitical instability compelled the Russian economy to adapt to totally new circumstances. Notwithstanding these challenges, export volumes have demonstrated growth, rising by 0.5% to reach $278 billion in 2024. Russian suppliers demonstrated a strategic focus on Asia, Africa and the CIS countries. So what was the structure of its exports and imports in 2024? Well, the total value of exports in value terms, according to the Federal Customs Service, was up to $278 billion. Also, significant changes have been observed in the structure of supplies, with Asian countries taking the leading positions in the terms of export in value terms of around $209 billion. Now, the European Union, surprisingly, is still in second place. Despite facing the challenges of sanctions, restrictions on payments and other negative trends, exports by Russia to the European Union reached $43.8 billion. Now, in third place was African countries, who recorded a total export volume of $16.4 billion. This was mainly oil, gas, petroleum products, metals, fertilizer, although around $1 billion was fish products and grains. Now, according to Lydia Roy, who's head of Creative Industries Laboratory at the Moscow Management School, Skolkovo, has stated that the reorientation of Russia's exports to Asia, the Middle East and the CIS countries has been the main feature of 2024. And the trend is explained by the new logistical factors and the economic circumstances. Sanctions in particular have caused increased logistics costs and restrictions on financial transactions with foreign partners. Consequently, companies are enhancing their domestic production capacities and exploring new export destinations. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website SCOBRICSinsight.com to further develop them. You can do this by making a small donation, which is done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now for watching. Now, Lydia further elaborates on this strategic shift, citing the ascendant purchasing power of the middle classes in Asia and the Middle East market for premium goods as the key factors, and Russian companies are manoeuvring and adapting their products and marketing strategies to the specifics of these markets. Such changes include the localization of their packaging design, marketing materials and the use of digital media and tools. Now, with regards to Russia's imports, which countries are now they being sourced from? Well, in 2024, there's been an increased trend of logistics of goods from Southeast Asia and Central Asian countries, according to Dmitry Akhazek, who's a co-founder of the SLK group of companies. Obviously, China has emerged as the clear leader in this regard. According to the General Administration of the Customs of the People's Republic of China, the volume of exports from January to November 2024 from China to Russia were 104.19 billion. India was second in terms of import volumes with 35.8 for the first half. Now, in the same period, the volume of imports from Belarus were 12.5 billion. For the countries of South and Latin America and Central America, it was reached 9.3 billion, while the top five was rounded out by African countries with a volume of 2.2 billion, mostly foodstuffs, of course. Now, also Turkey, the United Arab Emirates and the European Union, South Korea, Taiwan and Singapore also supplied products to Russia. Now, among the CIS countries, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan were the largest exporters of goods. But according to Arkazan, he notes that the overall volume of goods has actually decreased slightly due to importers experiencing difficulties related to payment throughout 2024. Well, that's understandable. And of course, the increased trade with Kazakhstan is people using that as an alternative for parallel imports into Russia. Now, the ongoing trade and financial restrictions are going to persist and will have a negative influence on foreign trade turnover between Russia and the EU. Consequently, Dmitry Zavalov, who's the director of the Higher School of Economics and Business at the Plenkinov Russian University of Economics, anticipates an expansion in both the share of African and Asian countries in both exports and imports. Now, it's important to note that the Asian countries also bypass the supply channel for sanctioned European goods, which is why the logistics chains have become more complicated, and it's extremely difficult to give an unambiguous assessment of the real source of import flows. You know, somebody buys something in Germany from Kazakhstan and then ships it into Russia. That's still an export from Kazakhstan. Now, supplies from the EU have significantly decreased in the past year. I mean, shipments from the European Union used to constitute about 50% of the total import volume prior to 2022. Now, this figure has decreased significantly to only 25% in 2024. Now, according to Nikolai Valovov, he elaborates, the decline in deliveries has gone from 60 billion for the first 8 months of 2023 to 43 billion for the corresponding period in 2024. Overall, export volumes to the EU fell by 27%, while imports fell by 10.3%. The settlements in trade with the EU countries were mainly conducted through the special accounts in euros and rubles. And in the second half of 2024, there was an improvement in the situation with foreign trade turnover with the EU countries. That was primarily due to Russian exports to the EU during this period of fertilisers, natural gas, iron and steel, although there was a decline in nickel and crude oil supplies. Now, the analysts forecast that in 2025, the current trend of a decline in the share of exports and imports to and from the EU and other influences will continue, while the share of exports to friendly and neutral countries is going to rise. Now, Mikhail Khachaturian has stated that the basis of Russia's major exports remains mineral goods, oil, gas and their derivatives, metals and products made from them, food products and agricultural production. Now, Zavalov, he says that the total volume of supplies were 61% mineral raw materials, 14.5% were metals, and 10% were food and agricultural products. Now, the primary categories of imports are equipment and electronics, clothing, footwear, automobiles, related components, food and beverage, plus medical products and equipment. Now, in addition, in 2024, equipment for the various purposes of manufacturing, processing, construction, etc., including machine tools, pumps, compressors, fans, air conditioners, measuring instruments, plastic and rubberware goods, ferrous metal products, tableware, etc., were all actively imported to Russia. I didn't see shovels or washing machine chips on that list, but I'm sure they were there. Now, in what currencies was the trade conducted? Well, it's noted that Russia aims to settle the trade in national currencies, with the central bank reporting that the dollar, the euro and currencies of unfriendly countries account for only 18% of trade settlements, either imports or exports. The currencies of friendly countries, the tenge, the rupees, the dirhams and the yuan, now account for 42%. Now, the ruble is the most important and popular currency for payments related to exports and imports in all of the regions, including Africa, the Caribbean, Oceania, Africa and Asia. Now, the transition to settlements in national currencies is driven by the challenges of making payments under the contracts. I mean, in 2024, Chinese banks stopped accepting funds directly from Russian importers. That led to a number of companies having to make substantial changes to their financial logistics, as in pay through Kazakhstan. It's far easier. Now, in this regard, it's got to acknowledge the difficulties associated with payments under trade contracts due to disruption to international logistics chains, and that's going to continue into 2025. However, forecast for the export of Russian goods in 2025 still remains optimistic, according to Lydia Roy. I mean, the primary growth is anticipated to be driven by further expansion into the Asia, the Middle East, the North Africa and the Central Asian markets, and she anticipates the utilisation of marketplaces, social networks and local partnerships are going to emerge as a pivotal strategy for accessing new markets. However, this success will depend on Russian companies' abilities to override the competitive and geopolitical risk while continuing to adapt products to the targets of the specific markets. So that's the current situation with Russian trade. Sanctions have not stopped the Russian economy, nor they destroyed it, and it continues to grow. And one final point, Russia is one of the few countries that runs a large trade surplus. Now, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And if you want to help me out, click on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen, make a donation, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.